Hey, we're live, guys. I'm Jeff with Ebayaddicts, and today my special guest is the Million Dollar Peddlers. How are you guys doing today?
Doing
Good.
well.
How's it
Doing
going?
well.
Good, good. I'm a subscriber of your channel, a recent subscriber. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and where you guys are from and what you do.
I'm a paper guy from upstate New York, Rochester, and got a day job, and then on the side I hustle eBay quite a bit. Basically, as the name paper guy would tell you, a lot of paper items, books, magazines, postcards, all that sort of thing.
I'm Mr. Magazine. I'm from Rochester as well. I've been doing this as long as Paperboy, about 22, 23 years. I have a brick and mortar store that was built when I was born 47 years ago, still open. I have a laundromat next to that, and a big eBay and Amazon business with a 20,000 square foot warehouse.
Right. And tell people how many items you currently have listed on eBay, because I was looking the other day and I think it was like 250,000 items that are active on eBay. Is that correct?
Yeah, we got 250 on eBay, 250 on Amazon, and we got another 500,000 ready to go.
All right, awesome. And
I'm
you, how many?
I'm sitting at 15,000 on eBay and about 20,000 on Amazon.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about, first of all, explain the name of your YouTube channel. And I wanted you guys to talk about what possessed you guys to start a YouTube channel. Because at the first, it's like the honeymoon phase, like the first month or so. And then after that, you're like, wait a minute, I have to keep making content? So talk a little bit about what the name is of your YouTube channel, how you came up with that name, and what inspired you guys to start your YouTube channel, and what your YouTube channel is about.
Sure. A friend of mine, you'll hear Auction Professor talk about him regularly, Mike. He's Radio Parts. He started emailing me just in general because he does a lot of research on other eBay sellers. And so I started talking with him, became friends with him. And then he asked me if I had watched any YouTube people. And I'd never even I'd never seen YouTube before in my life. So he kind of turned me on to the Auction Professor, and I started watching that. And I said, hey, I'm learning some good information out of this. And I said, I think I've got some information to share, and I certainly know Mr. Magazine has some information to share. So I came to him and said, hey, I think we can do this. I think we can share some information with people. And so we looked into it a little more and said, this is doable. And started to do it. We needed to come up with a name. And the thought was his gross sales are more than $1 million in a year. And I've done more than $1 million lifetime on eBay. So we said, hey, we could call ourselves the Million Dollar Peddlers, and we're not making anything up. We've got the numbers to back that up. So we decided to give it a try. We've got, my stepson helps us a lot as far as the technical side of things, because neither of us know that kind of thing at all. So he'd make sure that, he set us help here for the StreamYard and all that sort of thing as well. He does the editing and all that sort of thing as well to help us out. And we just started doing it. And now every Sunday we get together, we shoot 3 videos every Sunday, because we post videos Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. And, we got a lot of ideas from people mentioning below in the comments that say, hey, would you discuss this? Can you talk about this? And I come up to him and I say, hey, here's what we're going to do. And we just do the videos that way. So that's kind of where the name comes from, and what we're doing. And we kind of want to give back, because we've learned a lot of things from other people.
Yeah, and if you guys had followed along here, when he says $1 million a year in sales, that breaks down to like $20,000 a week in sales. So if you compare that to bringing home a $400 or $500 paycheck versus $20,000 in sales for the week, that's quite a big number. So I wanted to kind of talk about that for a minute, because there's most of the people in our community are entrepreneurial minded, but there's some people that think, oh man, in order for me to make $1 million in 1 year, I need to have some kind of stimulus check from the government. I need to win the lottery. I need to get an inheritance. I need to get drafted to the NBA or the NFL. Like something like I need to be struck with lightning twice at the same time. Like it's not something that I can just start from nothing and consistently work at it day in, day out. And over the course of 10, 15, 20 years, build up a business. They seem to think, well, only if I have some rich uncle who lives off in a distant, state or distant country that just left me some money in his will, then I'll be straight. But they don't understand is a lot of these people that somehow maybe they won the lottery, or maybe they went to the NFL or the NBA, within 3 to 5 years of them retiring, they're go back to flat broke. If you don't have the actual business mentality of how to actually manage your money and manage your finances, that quick windfall of a quick getting a big spurt of cash, or, you know, winning the lottery, or going to the NBA, NFL, and sign. You know, there's players you see that when they get $100 million contract, and within 5 years they're working at Wendy's again or something, because they don't have the skills and abilities to back that up. So can you talk a little bit about that for me? Because I just want to kind of flesh that out a little bit.
Well, for me, you know, I started out a little bit in debt like 12 years ago or so. Or actually, it was longer than that. But we got kicked off. I got kicked off eBay about 12 years ago. So they had, I think, 1,000 items. I can't remember if it was more than that. And I had to start from scratch. And that's how I turned on to Amazon. You know, and I had some debt. And I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna get out of this debt. I like a decent lifestyle for me and my family. I have to think bigger than, you know, $1 item, $5 item, $10. So, you know, I was fortunate. My retail shop's been there forever. A lot of people selling me stuff, and I grew. And then Paperboy stumbled across, actually through the website, a gentleman in Canada with a large magazine collection that I ended up purchasing. If I didn't buy it, he was going to buy it. So I'm very lucky there. But I think that started my mass buying thing when I had 100,000 magazines at my disposal. You know, me and a couple employees couldn't handle it, so I had to hire more employees, and I just grew over time. You know, it took 12 years to get from 0 listings to, you know, 500,000 listings. You know, you got to think big. You got to look for the big deals and make sure you can make money off it.
Right. Awesome. I want to catch a few people in the chat. We have Katie Reeds is here hanging out. We got Angie Resells is here. She says, wow, impressive. And Katie Reed says, I remember seeing you guys on Dom's channel. So you guys are beasts at e-commerce. And Mike is here. He says, great guys, Dave and Chuck. And we have Urban Foster here. Says watching from Australia. So I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name improperly. I do it all the time. I don't do it on purpose. So yeah, if you guys have questions for our guests, drop it in the chat. So I wanted to get back in a little bit on your backstory of how you guys first got started into reselling. Like, what were you just like watching YouTube videos one day? Did you have a buddy or a friend of yours? Like, what got you first started where you got the itch and this whole reselling thing where you're just like, hey, let me try this out and see if I can make money at it? Did it start off like as a hobby? Go ahead.
Basically, I started working for him back in the day, and he had only the brick and mortar shop. And brick and mortar was tough back. I mean, it's tough now, obviously, but it was tough back then as well. And, you know, he was making ends meet, but that was pretty much about it. And gosh, we have to be going back to what, 2000, 99, 2000, somewhere in there.
Sure.
People would come in occasionally and talk about, hey, there's this great new thing. And it had been out for a few years at that point. But there's this great new thing eBay. There's this great new thing eBay. And after a couple of different people came in talking about it, we said, well, why don't we look into that? And we kind of took a look into it and said, well, I think we can do this. And I don't know if there are any old timers out there who remember eBay back then, but you actually didn't have to put a picture up. You had to get a special program. And I don't know computers, but I remember it was Twain Acquire. I remember that forever, that you had to do that to be able to get a picture up. So you were listing a lot of stuff without pictures back then. There was no automatic invoicing. You had to email everybody, telling them, hey, thanks for winning. You had to have a meter to send postage out, et cetera, et cetera. So we just kind of got into it way back then. And people started coming. You know, he was selling stuff that he had around the shop, and I was selling some doubles sports cards out of my collection through him. And all that sort of thing. And we were just kind of winging it as far as that went. And then I do remember gentlemen came in with some old books to sell you. Mm-hmm. And they were Lois Lenski books, and they were Tarzan books and Bibles. And we didn't know anything at all about them. And the guy, oh, these are this. And I think he probably overpaid at the time.
Yeah, probably, I'm sure.
But we bought them and listed them and started learning books. And before you knew it, we were into, you know, just about anything you could find, because I started going to the public auctions as well. Yep. And that was the good old days of public auctions, and just bought lots and lots of different things, and didn't know what I was going to sell, because it just depended on what was at the auction that I could get a good price on.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you started going to auctions. Now, what are some of the places that you guys like to go sourcing at to get merchandise to resell? Like, do you like to go to thrift stores, yard sales? Like, do you go to like Goodwills, estate sales? What are some of the places that you like to go when you have time to go sourcing, that you like to go sourcing at?
I love the flea markets myself. I do go to the flea markets around here. There's a couple of decent ones around here. Estate sales, I go to them, but they're hit or miss. So basically, you have to go on the estatesales.net and take a look at the pictures and see if it's worth your while or not for those. And then a lot of it is just dealers. he and I have been around for a long, long time, and dealers do know us. They know what it is that we buy. A lot of different times I'll meet somebody out, there's an antique mall around here that I go to. And I was in there a couple of weeks ago buying something, and a lady comes up to me, or actually a lady working counter goes, "Oh, I know you. You're the guy that just buys paper." And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I've ever seen you before, but okay. So kind of everybody knows me around the area for buying that. And I know you kind of do the dealers and the people coming in the store.
Yeah, I get a lot of loyal customers that sell me stuff regularly on a daily basis. But most of the big deals I acquire all over the country. I got a couple friends in Ohio and Michigan, and they're checking Craigslist daily for anything big collections that come up, whether it's, magazines, record albums, comics, and we'll drive all over the country, or I'll pay them to do so. I think, when was it, November? We picked up, I think 15,000 magazines in Utah, which was a big task because we had to rent a Penske truck, and we had to stay overnight in a hotel, and it was like a 5-day round trip. But, we'll drive anywhere over the country if it's worth it.
Awesome. Now, talk a little bit about how important it is to build relationships with people, because like when you're looking for merchandise, I talk a lot about how it is important to build relationships with people, because you never know when you're going to run into this person again, or they might have some merchandise they need to offload, and even other resellers. Instead of being competitive, it's important to say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. And then maybe in the future, maybe you might meet a guy that buys storage lockers, and maybe you buy clothing and he doesn't like clothing. And then he'll call you up and say, hey, I just bought the storage locker and there's a bunch of clothing in here. I don't want to fool with it. Do you want to come pick it up? And then maybe, vice versa, you can build up rapport and build relationships with people. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for me, a lot of the customers, like, you got to be honest with them. There's a lot of shady dealers out there. So, and plus we've been around 40 years at this store there. But like what I'll do is, I'll be up front. They'll come in with something. I have no idea what it's worth. They'll bring in an accordion. They don't know what they want. They inherited it or whatever. And I'll look at that up on eBay, and I'll look at like an average sold price. I'll print it out for them, and I'll show them, hey, this goes for X amount of dollars. I'll pay you this. And 9 out of 10 times they see that, and, they feel comfortable with that. And, now they know what it's worth, and they're going to get money right on the spot.
And I think, and this is going to go contrary to what a lot of people believe, but I absolutely believe the best way to build rapport with people so they keep dealing with you is don't haggle. I very rarely haggle. I've got in my head what I'm willing to pay, and I basically make that offer super, super close to the offer. Or if they throw the number out, if I can make money at that offer, enough money to make it worth my while, I just take it. And the advantage of that is the few times with the dealers that I deal with that I do haggle, they immediately come down on the price because they think he never haggles, he never complains. Right. This time he's asking for a $20 cut. I must be overpriced on it.
True.
But they always come back to me because they have a lot of different people that want to nickel and dime them constantly. And they know that I don't do that. They know that I'll come out, I'll look at it, I'll give them a fair price. No nonsense. Here's what it is. I'm buying it, and I'm taking all of it. I'm not trying to cherry pick it. I'll take it all and move on my way. And that definitely goes a long, long way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. We have a few questions in the chat. Mike is here. He says, my question is, as more people sell online, what do you see in the future? Is a more saturated market, or is there enough for everybody?
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Shout out to you. I definitely think that there's enough out there for everybody. To be honest with you, as Mike knows, as Chuck knows, as I know, as you know, this is hard work. Everybody thinks that they can get rich because they hear about their uncle that bought something for $1 and flipped it for $100, and they all think that they can do that. In order to succeed, you need to do it every day. I believe we've done a video about it. There's two ways to do this business, and you have to figure out which way you want to do it. Either you go with the grind and you list every single day and you just keep going with it, or you buy big lots of stuff, you cherry pick the best 10 items out of it, and you wholesale the rest off to somebody, and then you only list the high-end items. Those are really the only two ways to go. Either it's the grind or it's the wholesale, keeping a couple of big items. Anything else just doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, I don't think the market is saturated, honestly. What I'll do is, let's say if I have an item, let's say I have a DVD or a Blu-ray or a video game and I'm asking $20 for it, I just let everybody else that's selling theirs for $5.99 free shipping. I just let them get sold out. And once they're sold out of their product for $5.99 free shipping, then guess what? Mine sells for full asking price, maybe 30 days later. So I don't try to compete with everybody and worry about the market being saturated because, like I said, they don't have the patience. They're trying to make a quick nickel instead of a long quarter. They want to hurry up and say, hey, I bought this item for $1. I'm going to sell it $5.99 free shipping. And I'm like, I know media mail is $2.89. So I know media mail is $3. And I know if you got the item for $1, that's $4 right there. So how much profit are you making of this $5.99 sell? So I just let them do them. It's kind of like if you're going the speed limit and you're going 50 miles an hour and a guy flies by you going by 100, just let him fly by you and go by 100. He's gonna get pulled over. He's gonna get into a wreck. Something. Just let him do him and you do you. Because what's gonna happen is over time, when, like I said, all the other sellers that are selling the similar product as you, once they sell out at $4.99, $5.99, $7.99 free shipping, then that item is no longer available in the market. Your item still brand new in the shrink wrap. It's about supply and demand. Nobody else has it. And now your item's going to sell for full asking price, let's say of $19.99 plus shipping on top, because you still have the item. You were patient and held that item. That's just my opinion. Mike asked the question. He says, where do you see yourself in 5 years and 10 years from now?
I'd like to answer Tahiti, but I don't think that's
I was just going to say Aruba.
Yeah.
So.
That sounds good. Go ahead.
For me, if I don't stop, I'm going to need 3 warehouses by then. But we're going to do some inventory control, and you learn a lot over the years, and we're buying smarter. I think where 5-10 years ago, I'd buy some deals that were big that maybe I took on too much, and it wasn't worth the risk and the hassle and time involved. But definitely buying smarter helps.
Yep, and I'm kind of trying to basically and actually Mike did help me on this. He did make a comment to me in an email at one point that says, hey, you're selling something for $10. You're not actually making any money. And you might be making $1 or $2, but you got to pull back and look at yourself, look at your business and say, am I making enough to justify it? And it kind of hit home. And that was probably August of 2020, something like that I kind of really sat back and thought about it. And at this point, I will not list anything on eBay for under $20. Now, I do offer free shipping on everything. I know a lot of people don't like free shipping. I do offer it, but I will not go below $20 asking price. And if I look at something and it's not worth $20, either I don't buy it, or if I do pick it up, I'm saving it to lot with something else in the future. Because he's right in the aspect that you end up doing a lot of work and spinning your wheels a lot on the $8, $10, $12 sales. Amazon's a different story. Amazon, I do sell cheaper things on, but Amazon, I just kind of use because it's so fast to list. If I buy a box of 25 books and there's 2 good books on it for eBay, the other 23, I'll list them over, retail them out on Amazon at a lower price. But they take so long to sell anyway that it is what it is.
Okay, awesome. So Red Dirt Picker is in the chat. He says, do you guys see eBay as the best marketplace, and what marketplace could be taking market share from eBay in the future?
It really depends on what you're selling, I think. For me, anything like new toys, books, whatever, like Amazon's niches, we put that on Amazon. It gets a lot more viewers there. For eBay, it would be, older collectibles and things of that nature. Sports cards, the high-end sports cards now, or anything that's hot, that's trending. The high-end rarity stuff would have to be eBay.
And I think eBay did a very, very good thing when they went to managed payments. And I don't mean the managed payments part. I mean in the way that they changed the listings because of how many listings you get for free now as part of just being, with your store subscription and all that sort of thing. Because now, back in the day, not that long ago, before I was in managed payments, I was paying $300 for a store. And I had 15,000 items. So the first 10,000 were free. I had 5,000 items I was paying a nickel a piece on. So that's $250. I was at $550 a month just without selling one item. I was at $550. That was my nut. And now, because of the way they changed things, I was able to downgrade my store. So now my store is, the $79 or whatever that is, save me a couple $100 there. And overall, my nut is quite a bit smaller, and I can get a lot more items listed on there as part of the 20,000 or 25,000 free items that I'm getting. That allows you, I think that helps eBay in the long run, because I can put some more obscure items on there that maybe in the past I would have put over on Discogs. Maybe in the past I would have looked into Poshmark, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now I actually can afford, and I know a nickel a month doesn't seem like a lot, but if you stop and you think about it, that's 60 cents a year, and I'm definitely part of the long tail. If it takes you 10 years to sell it, you got $6 into it. And if you're selling the item for $15, where are you going? So I think eBay really did a lot to keep themselves as a viable marketplace by doing that with their fees.
Yeah, for sure. I talk about that a lot. I sell a lot of media items. So I sell a lot of CDs, DVDs, video games, Blu-rays, VHS tapes. And if you guys don't know exactly what he's saying is, in managed payments, there's like 10 items that are in the select categories. And if these items are in the select categories, like you can get the basic store that's like $21 a month or something, and you can get up to 10,000 free listings if it's in those select categories. So basically, let's say I listed a Blu-ray in this select category, then you pay 0 insertion fees. So at the end of the 30 days, if your item doesn't sell and it relists, instead of you paying a quarter or a dime or whatever they charge, you pay 0 insertion fees at the end of the 30 days. So you're much more likely. So if let's say I bought, like, for example, I bought this Blu-ray at the Dollar Tree and it today sold for $15. Now, let's say if it took 30 or 60 or 90 days for that item to sell, I don't want to go pay, those insertion fees every single month for an item that I bought for $1 to sell for $15, because all those fees start adding up. Because now if it took you 6 months to sell it, not, only are you having to, to list it and store it and ship it and all that, but now you're having to pay all these extra fees I haven't listed on the platform. So that's definitely a big game changer, for sure. I talk about that a lot, as well as having items in those select categories. I wanted to say hi to a few people in the chat. We had Red Dirt Picker come by and hang out with us. We got Mike is here. Urban Foster is in the chat. My buddy BK from the Rockies is here. So if you have questions in the chat, and we're going to go ahead and get to them. Urban Foster, he says, what does your daily routine look like?
I don't think you want to know the answer, what we go through every day.
You can go ahead first.
Well, Paperboy was an earlier riser before I became an early riser. But, now 3 a.m. is the norm for me. I try to get to bed by 10 and get 5 hours in. Doesn't always happen. I think Mondays are even earlier because we're together in the morning. So it's like 1:45, 2 a.m. And I really don't get home till about 6 o'clock p.m. I'm at my shop in the morning, answering emails, printing orders. I go to my warehouse to finish doing that. Then I'm back at my shop from 11 till 3, back at the warehouse from 3 to 6. And even then, I could work 24 hours a day if I didn't have to sleep. But you do the best you can, squeeze it all in. That's all you can do.
And I get up at 3 every morning, except Mondays when I go to help him. I get up at 1 and get up at 3, kind of do the emails, all that kind of thing, find items in the morning. I do have the day job. I start that at 7. Try to always, every morning, get 5 to 10 items listed. Like I said, it's the grind, and that's how you stay on top of things. You just keep listing stuff every single day. I do the day job till 3, catch up on eBay stuff after the day job, and have a nice dinner and go to bed. Get up the next day, and same thing happens again.
Yeah, I was laughing a little bit because my family says the same thing about me. They're like, Jeff, you would just work 24 hours a day. If your body didn't need 8 hours of sleep, you would just work 24 hours a day. And the only reason you stop working is because your battery goes dead and you have to take a shower and eat and sleep. They were like, if it wasn't for that, you would just keep working and working and working like the Energizer Bunny. And it's funny when you said that, I was like, man, I can relate because I'm a similar work. Not everybody has that type of work ethic, but when you do, it's rare. It's kind of like I was watching this video the other day and they said, if you just do what you said that you're going to do, you're going to be better than 95% of the population. If you just said, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and then actually go out and do it, you got advantage over 95% of the population that just talks about doing what they want to do and that they don't actually execute. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a question, man. Can you tell me about what it's like working a full-time job and then coming home and working on your eBay store in the afternoon? Because I get emails from people and they say, well, Jeff, you don't understand. I have a full-time job, or I have a family. I have a wife and kids and family. it's more difficult for me to grow my eBay store. You know, it's hard for me to go from 0 to 10,000 or 15,000 listings on eBay because I have to get up and go to work, my regular, 9 to 5 job. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you manage that? Like, maybe you have a shortcut to maybe get buy a wholesale lot of merchandise, or maybe listings. Maybe you could give us some shortcuts that could help somebody.
Hey, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's always
7 days a week too. It's not 5
true.
days; it's 7 days.
That's true. Really, what it comes down to is you have to know yourself, and you have to know how busy a given day is going to be. In other words, you take a look on the schedule and you say, geez, I got my 9 to 5 or my 7 to 3 as it happens to be today, and I have a dentist appointment afterwards. Well, you know that going in. So those days you kind of write it off as far as the eBay business. You do what you have to do in the morning, list a couple of items, you get home, you just grind through finding the items, getting them packed up, and then you just go off to bed, and it's a lost day as far as the eBay business goes. But as long as you know that going in, and if it's a lost day or a day that you just don't have a lot of time, just list a couple of things that are just sitting around, just, something or other that you just, hey, I want to get this listed. Then you've got those days where you've got the whole day wide open, a nice weekend day with a snowstorm outside. You're not going anywhere. That's the day that you sit there and you list all of the same items so you can get up 100, 150 items, 200 items, whatever it is in a day. You just grind through them on those days. So you kind of almost have things in a couple of different piles, things that I can get on super fast and things that I'm just going to grind through when I've got 10, 15 minutes. I can list 2 of this. I can list 1 of this. So that's really the whole secret is you just keep grinding. And as long as you know what your schedule is, you work around your schedule because real life happens. And, you've got things going on. You got to go out of town for work for a day, something like that. Well, as long as you know these things in advance, you can plan for them.
Yeah, and you were talking earlier about trying to list items 7 days a week, even if you could only get 5 or 10 items up. Like, it's just the consistency of doing it every day. Just like, brushing your teeth every day or taking a shower every day. You want to get items listed on the platform, and if you can just get more items listed than what you sold that week, your store is growing. You're making progress. So I wanted to catch a few people in the chat. We got Urban is here. He says, I have a full-time job and I do eBay business, almost full-time hours as well. I found it's all about the routine. It can be exhausting though. We got Kevin is here from the Thrifting Lounge, came by. Red Dirt Picker is here. And we have a question from Mike. He says, so do you guys do free shipping or do you charge for shipping? Do you think free shipping is the way to go, or do you charge? Which way do you think is better, to offer the customers free shipping or not?
So for me, we're definitely different on this one, and rightly so. But if I have 300-400 items a day, I'm sending out. Okay, and if I did free shipping, think about the money I would lose as far as paying the lister to list it, the puller to pull it, the packer to pack it. It's about $1.50 to $2 of just time, labor time into each item. So if I were to do that with 300-400 items a day, I'd be 600 negative every day. So it really wouldn't be feasible for that. And I could jack my prices up, but then that could scare people off. But it just works for me. I tried it in the past, and I also take offers on, I think, almost every item I have that's in my store. So that's another thing too. I can't keep track of 50, 100 offers a day, and I'll just start accepting them. And then before you know, it's like, geez, I took $8 for this. I forgot it's free shipping. Now I'm breaking even. Whereas if there was $6 shipping, okay, now I'm going to make a few bucks. So for me, it's easier to just go that way. And all my buyers know that going in. And I got a lot of repeat buyers that buy 5-10 items a day, and they're just happy with the system.
And you're not exactly being true. Where do you offer free shipping?
Oh, on sports cards, we just started with this because the sports card market's been crazy. We do offer the free shipping on sports cards.
Yep. And I'll get back to your question in a moment. You were talking about the number of listings eBay is allowing being a game changer. And I do think that the shipping that they have on the sports cards and trading cards, was it 51 cents? I think it is.
Yeah.
Where you can put it in the small envelope and ship it off for 51 cents. Once they get that moved out, which they're talking about into things like postcards and the like, I think that's going to be a big game changer too.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that if you want to after this. As far as the free shipping side of it goes, I find it works for me. I find it works very well for me. But a lot of the things I sell are media, and a lot of the things I sell are smalls, which can go right in an envelope. So I raise the price to make up the difference. I get the little badge or whatever it is that says free shipping, and supposedly, and I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly I get higher ranked up in search. So for me, it's not that big of a deal. I'm more than willing to do it. And the other advantage is I've been doing it for, 3-4 years now. So I know going in that most of my items have free shipping. So when the offer comes in, I do take that into account. And a lot of times somebody will make me a low offer, and then I make them a counter offer, and I note, hey, it does have free shipping. I have to cover that. And about 3/4 of the time, the person buys at my counter offer because they realize, oh yeah, it did have free shipping. One quick thing that I do as well is when I list something or other on one of the platforms, it's for whatever, $20, and then the cent amount is the year that I listed it in. So I find that to be a great little tool for me, because if you make me an offer of $12 on something and it's priced at $20.21, I'm probably not going to take it because I just listed it. If it's priced at $20.08, well, it's been up there for going on 13 years now and nobody wants it. Yeah, I'll definitely take that. I just want it gone. So I that's a little tip that I use out there, and it just makes things at a quick glance. I can say, yep. And if you come to me and say, hey, are you willing to deal on things? I can tell you, hey, I'll give you an even bigger cut on the older stuff. Here's how you can tell what the older stuff is. And I've had a couple of people buy a fair number of items off of me in one swoop, just kind of using that. They went through and picked out things that had the 12 cent and the 13 cent and made me low offers. And I said, hey, they've been on for 6-7 years. Let's get rid of them.
No, their method won't work if you're putting your items on sale.
No, it will not.
Yeah, I don't do free shipping because the post office, it seems like every 6 months or a year, they keep raising the rates up at the post office. And let's say if you have an item, let's say I had a DVD or a Blu-ray for $14.99 free shipping. Well, the post office keeps raising their post office rates, and it keeps cutting into your profit margin. So that same Blu-ray that I bought for $1 and sold for $15, if I did free shipping, and then the post office is like, well, we were charging $4.50. Now we're charging $5 to ship the same item. It keeps cutting into your profit margin. So I'll list the same item for $14.99 and then have the customer pay shipping. But usually 9 times out of 10, they'll pay medium mail shipping. If it's under a pound, it's only $2.89 or something. So it's not like a deal breaker. But I just have the customer do that because it's like I can't control the post office, and they can just snap their fingers at any given time, and they can raise the rates, and you don't have no say so in the matter. And if you had that like a sunk cost built into your items, that affects that. And also, I think if you put your store like on 10% off sale or something, and you have free shipping, that would affect the price of your item would go down 10 or 15% as well with the free shipping of the item. So right. That's just me personally. Urban has a question. He says, are there products that you love sourcing but hate listing?
Well, for me, I don't know how many listers I've had over the years and employees, but we call it the scared pile, because I'll give them 100 items, and every day they'll list 90 out of them, and 10 will go to the side because they don't like them. And it doesn't really matter what it could be. It's usually something that takes a little more researching, or it's hard to take a picture. It could be a bound volume. It could be a newspaper. But generally anything big and oversized, all my employees hate it. And we call it the scared pile, and there's a bunch of them in my warehouse.
And for me, it actually comes down to, I call them projects, and I tell myself not to buy projects, and I never listen to myself. And it's not any specific item. It's like, I'll give you an example. I recently purchased some archive from I think it was Georgie Williams, I think was his name. I forget what I have it written down somewhere, but he was a African-American Philadelphia DJ. And I got a bunch of his personal papers and a picture of him with Martin Luther King Jr., et cetera, et cetera. Just a great little archive. It's still sitting in his original briefcase that I bought it in. I probably won't list it anytime soon because it's a project. Because I'm going to have to carve out a lot of time in order to do it justice. Yeah. I got it at a good deal. I'm glad that I have it. I'll probably never get it listed. So those are the things I absolutely love buying, because I know I'm holding history in my hands, and I know it's worth a lot more than what I paid for it. But I just never get around to listing because I just never find the time. Yeah,
generally to do volume, my employees like anything that's easy, the same type or title, or high dollar amount. I'll make sure, hey, this is, about a big deal. This is $500. Get this on. At least you get some money back quicker. Or if you got 100 fashion magazines, all the same title. It's easy for them. It's when you get into the oversized stuff, the posters, the billboards, the signs. I just picked up a huge sign collection. I told my employee, I'm like, you're the man for this job. We're going to do this next Tuesday. So now he knows, hey, he hates doing it, but he knows Tuesday's around the corner. He's got to get ready for it. So
actually, posters. Now that you mentioned,
Yeah.
I was at the flea market and they had a box of posters and they wanted, I think, $1 a poster. And I said, how much for all of them? And they said, I don't know, $15, take the whole box. And there was like there's a Jordache poster in there from the 80s,
Nice.
which I know is a good poster, and a bunch of other posters still sitting out in the garage because I've yet to open any of the posters up. But one of these days I'll be listing those.
I have a big loft at the warehouse, and it's got to be a few hundred square feet, right? And now it's where posters go to die over the last 10, 15 years. And there's literally 20, 30,000 posters probably up there. And there's some really good ones, just we never get around to it.
Okay, awesome. I got a couple of questions. First, I wanted to talk about when you're outsourcing somewhere. I think there's a lot of people that have these eyes where when they're out at a yard sale or a thrift store and they're like, man, I'm looking for an item that I can buy for $5 and sell for $50. And we were talking before the show. You said that you'll buy a bunch of stuff in bulk. You buy a whole box of merchandise for $2. And by the time you add up all the value to sell it on eBay, you got $170 worth of merchandise that you can list. So not every item needs to be a home run where you pay $5 for it and sell it for $50. It's okay to have items that are not home runs, but you got a whole box of merchandise for $2, $5, whatever it is. And then when you sort through and add all that up, it will definitely add up and pay in the long run. Like, for example, let's say I go to let's say you buy a pair of shoes at a yard sale for $5. Let's say a pair of Nikes, and you sell them for $50. Where I went to a pawn shop and let's say I bought 10 DVDs for 50 cents a piece, and I spent my $5 and bought those 10 DVDs, and then I turned around and sold those 10 DVDs for $10 a piece on eBay. Then I'm essentially turning my $5 of capital into $100, which is a 20x on my money versus spending $5 on a pair of shoes and selling them for $50 and getting a 10x on your money. Can you talk a little bit about that, about maybe buying items in bulk, or maybe, if not every item you touch doesn't have to turn into gold. It doesn't have to be a home run every item that you list.
It's actually funny that you brought that up. We have a video coming out shortly. We shot it last Sunday, more or less saying that you win the game with home runs, but you win them with walks and singles as well. And that's kind of what it's a lot easier to draw a walk or to get a single than it is to hit the home run. And everybody's looking for the home run. And so you can make a pretty good living picking up the singles here and there. And kind of an aside, sort of what you're talking about over there. We have a video up today that somebody commented down below. Our video today is talking about inflation and how prices are definitely going up on the buying side. I'm definitely noticing that. And historically, this time of year is a very difficult year, or a very difficult time of the year, at least in the United States up north, because there's a lot fewer sales, there's no flea markets, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what ends up happening is all of the dealers, when something or other does come up, historically, they overpay at this time of year as well because they realize flea market season's coming. So they're starting to stock up right now. So somebody commented below our video was talking about, they were definitely noticing that. And a bit of advice I would give to everybody out there, if you are at a sale and you've driven 3 hours for it and prices are going high, don't buy something to justify your 3-hour drive. So many people do that and you're not making any money. Yeah, you drove 3 hours, write it off. You could take the expense, go in there and you say, oh, well, rather than sinking money in on something mediocre that you don't make very much on. The other side of that is if you're at a sale and they're just giving stuff away, or you're at an auction and you're the only book guy at the auction, buy every single thing you possibly can. If you're getting great prices on it, worry about how to list it later, because this is your opportunity to make up for those 3-hour drives where there isn't anything. So you got to basically read the room as far as how everything is going. And if things are going real cheap, buy, and worry about listing it later.
I worry more about storing it later, but we always find a way.
Okay, cool. Mike has a question. He says, do you see yourself morphing into other categories in the future, or staying in the category that you were in?
Well, I'm learning from Paperboy and Auction Professor to start owning more categories. I know I own one of the magazine categories now, pretty much. I think we're almost at 50% there. But there's been deals that come across the table where I normally wouldn't buy it, but now if it's like 100 items of the same thing, or 200 or 500, I'll buy it now and then. I'll set it aside, and when we're ready, we're going to hit that category hard. And hopefully get closer to owning some more categories.
And as I was mentioned on the when we were on the Auction Professor, I've been buying some original artwork, comic strip stuff, comic artwork, all that kind of stuff at Heritage Auctions. And I'm kind of trying to move into that area. And I don't know a lot about it, and I haven't made very many sales on it, but I'm also not known for that at this point. But if I continue to purchase those kind of items, more or less what I do is I put a low bid in on them, and every once in a while I win something, and then I list it. So I'm kind of want to move a little bit upscale on that kind of thing, because I do enjoy it. I do enjoy holding the history in my hands. And I do buy a lot of Sunday comic strips, all that kind of stuff. Those things actually sell, just to let you know as well. But you do have to list all of the various comics that are in the section. But what I notice is I sell a lot more comics and comic strip sections by moving into that category. It drives a lot of traffic. So that's kind of where I'm moving, whether I want to or not. That is kind of the way that I'm moving.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about maybe owning a section? Because when you were talking about that, I think I saw one of your YouTube videos, and you guys were talking about maybe owning a category, or owning a niche, or dominating a marketplace. And when I saw that video, I subscribed, because I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Because when you dominate your market in a certain niche, you're driving so much traffic to your store. Because if someone's looking for magazines, everywhere they go on the eBay site, there's going to be a link to it, even if it's a different magazine that they're not interested in, and they're going to look and see who the seller is. And it's driving so much traffic to your store that you're going to generate sales by dominating that certain niche or marketplace. Can you talk a bit about that? Because 250,000 items, that's a whole lot of items.
Yeah, and Auction Professor hit it on the head too, as far as you can basically price, you could price whatever you want on these things. And like you said with the DVDs, once the $5 and $6 ones are gone, they're going to buy yours for 10 or 20. And that's what I do with magazines. And by now, people that know me, they know you're going to get high quality magazines. It's going to be described as it is. It's going to be shipped properly with cardboard protected. Because I get emails every day like, I'm a crook. How could you get $20, $10, $30 for a magazine? It's a $5 magazine. Well, I said, well, buy it from them and see how it looks when you get it. But I mean, we sell them all day. We sell them all day long, 100, 200 magazines or more a day, and our customers are happy, repeat customers, and some buy 20 a day or 50 a day, so we got forever we can list magazines, not a problem owning that category. Maybe someday we'll have, 100% if they boot everyone else off, who knows?
There's a couple of sellers, and this is another thing that I would definitely suggest to people, and that's watch your competition. I've learned a lot by watching what other people in the magazine category do, and I point out to him various things that they do. And there's one seller out there that kind of caught my attention. He has he's got a newspaper and he has a magazine, and he's got 2,500 listings in the newspaper title, and he has 2,500 listings in the magazine title. And he's asking quite a bit more money than anybody else is on them. But darn if he doesn't sell 3-4 a week every single week, because he's the only one that has them, or people come across them that don't want to do all the searching, across eBay. And hey, he's got what they want right there. They're not going to bother searching. And that's the other good thing about owning a category is a lot of people, when they're in your store and with the shipping, he may not offer free shipping, but he does offer combined shipping. And especially in things like the sports cards, it's very, very important. I'm in your store buying a sports card for my collection, and I've already bought 2 or 3. So I'm already into it for the shipping. I'm going to buy 2 or 3 more that I need for my set from you without trying to search around. Even if you want $4 on it and I can get it $3 somewhere else, because I'm already in your store, the shipping is already included, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another big advantage owning the category. People find you in there, and then they throw a second or a third or a fourth magazine in.
Yeah, here's a perfect example: bonsai magazines. 5 years ago, probably would have never bought them. Someone came in with 100 of them, and I didn't pay a lot for them because they weren't going for much on eBay, but there was only 5 of them for, I think, $5 a piece. Well, we listed all 100 of them for $20, and guess what? We sold a ton because those issues were not on eBay. And you'll get those buyers that say, hey, it's a $5 magazine. I'll say, no, that's a $5 issue that man's selling. My magazines, there's no comps for them, so I could put $20 on them. So definitely list them all if you have them.
Yeah, I like what you were saying about there's no comps on it, and especially if you have a unique item and nobody else has it, you can ask a premium for that item. No matter what. Let's say it's a TV remote, right? And let's say normally that TV remote might only sell for $10, $15. Well, no other sellers on eBay have it. Now you can charge $25, $30 for that same remote because it's about supply and demand. If there's zero supply, you're the only person that has it. When that person's looking for that item, you're the only seller on eBay that has that item. You can charge a premium for it. And I don't think that's unethical. It's just supply and demand. So what I wanted to talk a little bit about is how do you go about growing your store? Because my goal this year, I'm at about 5,800 items right now on my main eBay store, and I'm trying to grow to 10,000 by the end of the year. How does somebody go about growing their store? Because I hear the same thing. Well, I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have the energy for it. And I'm just like, bro, everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. Like, I don't hear Bill Gates saying I don't have enough time. He has 24 hours in a day like you do. Right. He doesn't walk around and complain about that. Elon Musk doesn't say, man, this sucks. Only if I had more than 24 hours in a day. No, they go out and execute. So talk a little bit about Urban says, what is your advice for leveling up? And that's what we were just talking about. How does somebody go about growing their business? Because you started off at zero and now, you're at the point where one of you guys are making $1 million a year in sales and you started out zero. It wasn't like that you got some big inheritance or something. How do you go about doing this? How do you go about growing your eBay store?
I mean, for me, the only way I can do it is more employees, really. And Paperboy's been telling me for years, get more employees. And we've finally done it since last Thanksgiving. I've hired 3 more employees just to list full time. And that's really helped me grow. We get more items on, and I don't have to buy anything for years, but that's the beauty. I got 500,000 items, and all I got to do is hire some listers, and we got more items on. We got more sales, so that's the only really way for me to grow.
I would say that the best thing is get things, if your goal is to get a lot of items on, I would assume when you're listening to DVDs and that, you've got the scanner and you can scan them all on.
I have my cell phone. I can scan the barcode, and what I'll do is if all my items are new in the shrink wrap. So a lot of the times, usually 9 times out of 10, I'll just use the box art and I'll click sell similar, and somebody else already has a listing already up there. So I kind of use their template, and then all I have to do is just change it and make sure the condition is listed as new. And then I just change the price and what I want to list it as. And then, make sure I'll look at the shipping and make sure the customer is paying shipping. And then if it's not up there, it takes 2 seconds. I take a photo front and back of the item and it's listed. I mean, I could probably list, 100 items a day because they're easy. They have barcodes. You scan the barcode, you take a picture front and back, it's uploaded, you're good to go. Like I said, that's just my particular niche. And like I said, I'm in that niche. Like, for one of the reasons we talked about earlier is I pay 0 insertion fee. So I can have 10,000 items in my store and I'm paying $21 a month to do that. But go ahead. Go ahead. And we were talking about advice for growing your store.
Right. Yeah. And that's one thing is if you get things like that, a good example, if you're not worried too much about quality of listing, if you want to get into the quality of listing, well, that automatically is going to slow you down. But if you've got things like, let's say, and this is always my go-to on our videos, car magazines. I despise car magazines. I don't buy car magazines, yet somehow I always seem to have car magazines. Those they're not exactly a dime a dozen, but they're pretty common on there. So if you have things like that, if you're just trying to build volume, you can get things like that, and you can just do bulk listing. You just make a whole pile of road and track, which are easy enough to find, or Motor Trend, and you just, hey, January 1974, you take a picture of the cover, and you list what's on the cover, whatever what Pinto or whatever was out in 1974. Yeah. Then you list the next one. You list the next one. That's really the way to, if you want to build quickly, that's the way to build quickly. We do have a video out though where I want people to think about it a little different way. And that's, a lot of people sit there and they say, I want to list whatever, 15 items a day, 20 items a day. But then they get discouraged when they're not able to do so. And maybe this doesn't apply to everybody out there, but I've got a garage, a basement, and a 3 Seasons room filled with unlisted inventory, along with a few things here in the living room that's not listed. So I can pretty much go and pick out unlisted inventory. Now, If you're not in that situation, then this isn't going to apply to you. But if you have a lot of unlisted inventory, a way to think about it that I've started to think about things is, rather than telling yourself, I want to list 15 items today, I want to list 15 items today, and then life gets in the way, and you're not going to always be able to list 15 items. Then you go to bed and you're discouraged, or you drag yourself in to do it, and then you wake up the next morning miserable because you didn't get enough sleep, et cetera, et cetera. A different way to go about it is get a dollar amount in your head that you want to get listed of merchandise that day. So say you want to get $500 worth of stuff listed that day, and it's a day where you do have the dentist appointment. Well, you grab some of the better stuff that you've been holding off on, and you list 5 $100 items, or 7 items that are, $70 to $80 a piece. Hey, it's a day that I've got all day. I can reach my 500, and I can list a lot of lower priced items because I have the time to do it. So that's kind of a way that most people don't think about doing things, because most people think about, I want to have 8,000 listings, 10,000 listings, 15,000 listings. But isn't the bottom line the most important thing what the dollar value of these listings are? And so that's kind of a different take, but something other that hopefully a few people will think about and say, hey, that does kind of make a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I talk about on my channel a lot is that when I'm sitting down to list items, I think about when I'm listing this item in my eBay store, I'm thinking about it as I am depositing a check into a bank account, right? So let's say hypothetically, with the example of those DVDs, let's say I listed 100 DVDs for $10 a piece, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, man, I just listed $1,000 check in my eBay bank account, and then I'm just waiting for that check to clear the bank. So it's essentially like, when you hear ka-ching, that means your check just cleared the bank. And then I'll go grab the item, I'll put it in a 6x9 padded envelope, slap a shipping label on it, and drop it off at the post office. So you just like change the way you think and the way you look at it to say, man, because it's funny to me, because if I was to hand you $1,000 check and said, here, go deposit this $1,000 check in the bank, you would rush to go do it. But if I say, here's $1,000 worth of merchandise listed on eBay, you look at it almost like as a chore, like you're doing laundry or you're making your bed. I look at it as, man, I'm going to deposit this $1,000 check into my eBay bank account, and I'm going to sit here and knock it out, because that's what motivates me, is to say, hey man, I just listed $100, $500, $600 into my eBay bank account, and I'm depositing these checks, so to speak, and I'm waiting for the money to clear the bank. That's kind of the way that I view it, as similar to what you were talking about. We don't have much time left, but I wanted to talk to you guys about buying merchandise in bulk. What I've been experimenting with lately is buying, like, for example, I recently ordered 1,000 CDs. They're all brand new in the shrink wrap, and the buy cost was $400, including shipping to my door, right? So you take your $400 buy cost divided by 1,000 CDs, I'm essentially in at about 40 cents a piece. Now, if I could just sell them for at least $10 a piece times 1,000, that's $10,000 worth of merchandise, and my buy cost was $400. So you're essentially turning $400 into $10,000. Right. Your rate of return is about a 25x rate of return on your investment. Sure. Now, are they all going to sell instantaneously overnight? No, but I'm not driving all over the city getting 3, 4, or 5 items at a time at a yard sale, and I'm just pressing a button and 1,000 items show up at my door, and they're brand new in the shrink wrap. It's not, I'm not selling like a gallon of milk or eggs or bread. It's not going to expire. It's not going to go bad. And once it's listed, it's on the platform, indefinitely, and I'm paying 0 insertion fees. So can you guys talk a little bit about how you go about when you want to buy items in bulk, what it is that you look at, and what is it the thing where you're like, man, I'm going to pull the trigger on this deal and buy it, this particular bulk deal? Like, what is the determining factor for you? And can you give us some advice when someone wants to buy items in bulk? Go ahead. I'll put you back on full screen.
There's probably been 100 times that I've had big bulk buys come my way, and I'm hemming and hawing, and I go to paper guy, what do you think? And 100 times he said, buy it. So pretty much that's what does it for me. But even on eBay, I'll look on eBay sometimes if I'm bored, or, if 12 minutes goes by and I haven't bought anything, I'm like, I got to buy something. So I go on eBay and I'll look for lots, whether it's sports cards, magazines, toys, or something. And every now and then you'll pick up something good. If you've got to be smart though and not go over your amount. It's for magazines and comics and toys. I know what I basically pay in bulk, whether you have 100 of them or 1,000 of them. If it's new, if it's old. So I got a range that I know I got to be in, and don't go above that.
Leaving out the one-off items, because we're not talking about the one-off. Obviously, if I go to your stand at the flea market and you've got something for $40 value and you want $1 on it, I'm buying it every single day of the week. There's no doubt all about that. But if you're talking about larger deals, for a really, really large deal, I'm going to say something here that Mike, who's watching, absolutely hates hearing because he hears it all the time. Do the math. And that's what it really comes down to on the really big deals is you kind of go through it and you say, what can I pay on this? How many items are there? What's the math? And when you're taking a look at it and you're saying, hey, I'm paying 75 cents a piece, I'm paying $1 a piece, $1.25 a piece, whatever it is. And obviously the bigger the number of items, the smaller the number you're paying per item goes to. I mean, obviously if you've got 100 magazines, I might be able to pay $3 a piece. You come to me with 100,000 magazines, they better be real good magazines for me to pay $3 a piece at that volume. If you're dealing with the middle-sized lots, the lots of 20 to 50 items, what I do there is I do that a little bit differently. I have that $20 price in my head. And these are things that you usually see at auction as opposed to at flea market, because at the flea market, obviously I would just pick the good items out. But if you're at an auction and you see the whole pile of stuff there and I start going through it, I count in my head, or, you're looking through it, I count in my head how many items there are, what can I sell? And I discard in my head anything that's not worth $20 or more. That has no value into my equation. So then I'm looking and I say, okay, there's 5 $20 items and 2 $40 items. Hey, I'm at $180 value, and that's not even counting the other 30 items in there. I'm at $180 value. What can I pay on it? And then I work out and I say, okay, my top line, you got the 10% buyer's premium, yada, yada, yada. My top line is whatever it happens to be, $40, $50, whatever it happens to be. And that's not hard or fast. A lot of it depends upon what it is, how fast I think it's going to move, whether I like listing it or not, which actually makes a big difference as well. If it's car magazines, I'm not bidding on it. But if it's something or other that I enjoy listing, or something or other that'll tie into, like, for example, I have a lot of upstate New York stuff in my store. I'm going to pay more for a collection of upstate New York stuff because it'll tie into my store automatically, as opposed to, 20 items from Shreveport, Louisiana, wonderful town. I'm certain I've got nothing else in my store from Shreveport. So why is anybody going to shop me for Shreveport? But so I buy the upstate New York stuff in that instance. In my head, I can pay $40, $50. If it goes above that price, oh, well, and there's always another sale, always another deal. So it kind of depends upon how large of a deal you're talking about.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to say hi to a few people in the chat. We have the Flippin' Sports guy here. Urban is here. The Cap guy is here hanging out with us. We got BK from the Rockies is here hanging out with us today. Out Country Sells is here, and Mike was here. So before we let you go, I have an important question I wanted to ask you guys. How do you go about, like, if someone was interested in going full time? Because I know that you said you only have 3 years left at your job, and then you're going to be you'll be retired, and you're going to be full time, and you have a big warehouse with 250,000 items listed on your eBay store. Can you give us some pointers or tips or advice if someone is going to go at it and they say, I want to make a full-time living and a full-time income from being a reseller? As I think the biggest thing that we're looking at is time management and trying to reinvest money back in your business. Like when you're making sales, let's say you made a sale for $100. How do you determine how much of that money you reinvest back in your business to buy more merchandise? And how do you determine how much money you pay yourself at the end of the year? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
You want to go take that one?
Because I've got the day job, at this point, I'm not paying myself. I'm reinvesting into the business almost completely. And it's really, last year was an insane year. Most years I spend between $15,000 to $20,000 on product. Last year I was up over 30,000, and this year I'm at a clip to be even higher than that on product. But my way of looking at it is I do, as you said, have 3 years left. So I'm just buying everything while I have the luxury of the day job, because as you said, or as we've said it many times on our channel, we're not buying lettuce. If I buy a upstate New York brochure today, it's still going to be an upstate New York brochure in 3 years. It's still going to be worth what it's worth in 3 years. We're not dealing in things that have great appreciation or depreciation in prices. So I'm more or less putting most of my revenue from eBay and Amazon right back into the business, but that's because of my particular situation. In 3 years, I may not have the luxury of having the extra money to purchase things, so I want to buy it now when I see it. As to the second part of it, I definitely, and this is going to be a problem in retirement, but I'm aware of it. I don't list markedly more on a 3-day weekend, like a holiday weekend, than I do on a 2-day weekend, because I just kind of screw around a little bit more because I've got more time. And I may, in a full 3-day weekend, I may list 10% more than I do in a 2-day weekend. So I am absolutely of the realization that I'm going to have a schedule. There's no doubt all about it. I list from this time to this time. I find from this time to this time. So I've already foreseen those problems and not doing anything about it yet, but I've got 3 years left. But you are absolutely right. You most certainly need to have a schedule.
Yeah, for me, I've been reinvesting in my company since I started pretty much. I won't turn down a deal if I think I can make money on it. And I don't worry about storing it. I'll figure it out, So for me, I'm winging it, but it's been fine. It's been working for me. So just keep it going.
Okay, awesome. Now, I got one more question for you, then I'll let you go. How do you determine, like, when you're as far as I watched your video the other day, and you talked about you were buying better, you were hiring better employees, and you were making improvements to your business. Talk a bit about that, and then talk about as far as hiring an employee. If someone is kind of on the fence and they want to hire their first employee, what are things that they need to look for? Do they pay them piece count? Do they pay them, hey, I'm going to pay this guy 50 cents per item that he lists? Or should they pay him by the hour? Like here in Florida, they recently voted to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And to most normal people, it's difficult for me to hire an employee and pay him $15 an hour. And that would just cut in so much into your profit margins on what you're selling on eBay. So if someone is looking at hiring an employee, how do they go about doing that? And can you talk about how you got better at your business as far as buying better, sourcing better merchandise? Because people make money on the buy, not when they sell it. You make money when you buy the merchandise, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've been buying smarter for the last couple of years now, and I think last year proves it. I probably spent 3 times as much as I did the year before. I think I spent $500,000 last year, and that was huge for me. But luckily I was able to do it. In the past, I was fortunate to have a lot of friends that could loan me the money when I was smaller and didn't grow. Now, last year I bought all that, on the capital I raised from selling items on eBay and Amazon. So, as far as hiring, yeah, that's tough for me because our minimum wage has been going up for years now. I think it was $8, and now it's at almost 13 now in just a matter of a few years. Half of my employees are friends or family, which is good because they're loyal and honest. I can trust them. We've been using Indeed every now and then to get some employees or temp agencies, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And I got a couple good managers where they'll teach them, and I'll help too as far as how we want our items listed. It might be different from the way Dave is. And I have niche listers too. I have, my nephew can list, 30 items an hour, no problem. So I'll give him certain things that he can fly through. I got other people that, they're going to do high quality items and they may only get 5 to 10 on, but these items might be 100 to 500 each. So, we got a good system, but as far as hiring, you just got to be smart and trust your instincts when you interview them. If you think they can work in your system, you go for it.
And as far as the one, I don't know Florida law. I don't know anybody else's law other than New York State. But when you're doing the piecemeal, you also are bound by the minimum wage law. So unfortunately, if I have you work for me for an hour and you list one item, I owe you $13 or $12.85 or whatever minimum wage is, and that really cuts into your profit.
Yeah.
As far as me, I know I was talking a little bit on Primetime about that. And that's a big decision that I've got to make in 3 years is, do I want to upscale or not? If I'm working out of the house, that's great. My expenses are low. But if I want to upscale, get 2 employees, 1 person listing, 1 person finding and packing, New York State has all kinds of laws, 4-hour minimums and all kinds of crazy laws up here. You got to worry about the workers' comp costs. You got to worry about disability, Family Medical Leave Act, et cetera, et cetera. You're talking, and obviously I don't want to have employees around my house. I would need to get a warehouse as well. You're talking an $80,000 a year nut is what I would end up having just for having a moderate sized warehouse and 2 employees. And that's a pretty big jump to be making. So I understand why people would sit there and say, I'm not sure. If you do have a storefront of some kind or somewhere that you're not working out of your house, I think that would be a big advantage if you've already got that to start with. Because again, I don't necessarily want people coming around my house and then you're opening your house and potentially the ocean, all that kind of stuff. If somebody gets hurt, You're winding up the situation. Does your town even allow workers inside your house, et cetera, et cetera? So there's a lot of different rules to be worried about as far as that goes. So if you do have a location away from your house, that you've got a good advantage right there.
Yeah, I have the same problem as well, where I want to scale and grow my business. Like I said, this year I would like to hit 10,000 items, and maybe next year I might go for 15,000, and the next year maybe 20,000. But that's the biggest issue that I have. Is I don't want to have to hire employees and have all these overhead expenses, because I want to be able to grow my store. But it doesn't make any sense for me to say, yeah, I made $10,000 this month, and 8,000 of it went right back out the door to expenses, because I just feel like you're spinning your wheels. Anyways, guys, we've had you on the channel today for an hour. If it was up to me, I could probably talk your ear off for another hour. But go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you at on Instagram and YouTube. I got your links down below in the description.
Oh, yeah, we're Million Dollar Peddlers, both on Instagram and on YouTube. We put up Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We put up new content. We shoot them every Sunday. We answer back to every comment. And if you have any ideas that you want us to do a video on, just let us know. Right now, we probably have videos done until early to mid-March. So we do have a bit of lead time on that. We try to show bolo videos. We try to give you some advice. And another thing that we're starting to do, I think we have a video posting next week about it, is my day job is I'm an auditor. So I see lots and lots of different businesses. And I take the best and the worst from those businesses when I, avoid the worst and take the best, and try to help Mr. Magazine with that as well. So kind of trying to give some real world lessons from, obviously I can't tell you who they are or anything all like that, but just things that I've seen out there to avoid, or best practices that I've seen out there. So it's kind of trying to educate you, because you'd be amazed a lot of times. You may see a business that has nothing whatsoever to do with reselling, but they could have a great idea that you can, I'll say borrow. I was going to say steal, but they might have a great idea you can borrow and put it into your business as well. And you just never know where that inspiration might come from. So keep your eyes open all the time when you're out there.
Right. I'm hear you. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm a subscriber of their channel. I would like to see you guys hit 1,000 subscribers soon and get your channel monetized. So go give them a follow. I'm a subscriber of their channel. At least go by and check them out. I got their link in the description down below. I appreciate everybody in the chat for hanging out with us, and I appreciate our guests for coming on and hanging out with us today. And hopefully, maybe in the future, I'll have you guys on again in the future, and we'll talk shop again. You guys have a great day, everybody in the chat, and I want to thank our guests for coming on and hanging out with us, the Million Dollar Peddlers. You guys have a great day.
All right. Thanks for having us. Anytime.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.